Little.
Mr Speaker, well, if Paula Bennett was ever worried that her interest in the leadership of the party were under threat from that member, then they were put to bed very firmly this afternoon. She's got good chances, and it's very rich for Judith Collins to be talking about the surnames of Chinese people. There is a Chinese surname we want to know very urgently, and that is the name of the Chinese border official that she had dinner with when she was acting in the best interests of her husband's company when she travelled to China just 2 years ago. The woman who has the most studied career in conflicts of interest and how to breach them. Well, that's Judith Collins. That's the returning Minister of Police. And it is, of course, absolutely fitting that Judith Collins should be given the job of sorting out the gangs because she's destroyed the family court in one fell swoop. So why shouldn't she be given the job of sorting out the gangs? Because if she could do to gangs what she's done to the family court, life would be a lot better for a lot more people. Mr Speaker, New Zealanders don't ask a great deal in life. We are people with simple ambitions and aspirations. One of those things is a decent job, a decently paid job, and frittering around on a minimum wage of $15.25 is not enough. And having a regime where you can have an employment agreement that requires you to turn up to work with no specification of hours is not good enough, which is why Labour's position is very clear. We do not support 0 hours contracts, and we will not support the Employment Relations Amendment Bill when it comes back if it does not remove any provision for 0 hours contracts. That is our position. Mr Speaker, the promise for New Zealand and New Zealanders is pretty simple. If you work hard, you should be able to get ahead. And that includes owning your own home. Far too many New Zealanders now being shut out of that pretty basic opportunity that once was an ordinary expectation of every New Zealander. Those hopes, those dreams, that basic dream of owning your own home is slipping away from far too many New Zealanders. We have the lowest level of home ownership since 1951, and we now have those people aged between 20 and 40 years of age now at the lowest level of home ownership, having slipped from 50% just 20 years ago to now just 20%. Young people, because of student debts and the burden of student debt, simply cannot get ahead. That's why dealing with the student debt burden issue is so important. And Labour's free years of tertiary education, of post-school education, is so vital to address that issue along with many others. We must give young New Zealanders a chance to get ahead. We see the news today. Student debt now at $15 billion. $15 billion that far too many young New Zealanders are labouring under the burden of. And that has an effect on home ownership. It has an effect on the ability to start a family and get ahead in life. Well, it's got to come to an end. Mr Speaker, the right, including the National Party and their consigliers and the commentariat, have a new device they're trotting out now, that when they're on the back foot, when they're on the ropes, they accuse us of politicising things. So when we reasonably raise the issues that 2/3 of New Zealanders are concerned about, the flag referendum, a waste of money and going nowhere, we get accused of politicising the issue. They completely forget that it was the Cabinet, John Key and his Cabinet, that overturned the cross-party agreement on how to conduct the referendum, including that basic question, do you want to change the flag? That's politicisation. That's politicisation. And then when it comes to our drug buying agency that sees or refuses to entertain the idea of buying a new drug that will address one of the most common forms of cancer in New Zealand, melanoma, that sees New Zealanders dying at the rate of 1 a day, they say, we're just politicising the issue. It is a political issue. It is a political issue when our drug buying agency is unresponsive to the needs of New Zealanders. And it is a political issue when our health minister fails to see that issue as well. Labour Party stands on the sides of New Zealanders, and we will fight for New Zealanders and their right to pursue the basic Kiwi dream that is so important.
Speaker. The Honourable